Hello, thanks for your interest in this work. My name is Kun-Ting Chen. Today, I'll be talking about our work investigating DoughNets, i.e. interactive 2D Torus neural visualizations. This is joint work with Team Dwyer, Team Marriott, Benjamin Bach, and was done at Monash University and University of Edinburgh. As we are aware, such nodding representations of a network inevitably involve line crossings, especially when the size of the network increases, which may significantly limit the usability of knowledge diagrams. How to find high-quality layouts for knowledge representation of a network and how to improve its usability is an open question. Tremendous work focused on improving the usability of knowledge diagrams. For example, Hola at the left studied human-alike orthogonal layout, which optimizes graph aesthetics and reduces line crossings. Confluent drawing at the center studied railway-like edge bundling techniques. If lines with common start and end points can be bundled to reduce visual clutter. Adjacency matrix at the right offers a non-overlapping view of the network and reveals underlying structure using matrix reordering methods. In this paper, we study visualizations of knowledge diagrams on a 2D torus topology since they can untangle a knowledge diagram as follows. The diagram A shows a simple non-planar K5 graph. When laid out on a torus surface, we can connect the node 3 and 5 by wrapping a link from left to right. Similarly, we can connect the link between 2 and 4 by wrapping it from top to bottom. This reduces line crossings. Finally, we slice it open and flatten it onto a diagram in C, which is a 2D torus diagram without line crossings. This example shows a knowledge diagram with crossings and its torus representations. So how do we identify friendship from a given torus layout? First, we say B and E are friends if we can find a vertical top-to-bottom relationships between these two small circles. Similarly, C, F are friends because we can find a top-to-bottom relationship between them, so they are connected. B and F are friends because we can find a horizontal left-to-right relationships between them. And similarly, AE are friends. Remember, those links without line breaks also indicate friendships. Therefore, we have a total of 9 friendships in this network. Past work studied graph embeddings on a surface such as torus. However, their works typically focus on finding a restricted class of graphs that can be drawn on a torus surface, strictly crossing-free. To the best of our knowledge, there's no available software that creates visualizations of arbitrary networks on higher-order surfaces. Furthermore, human readability studies of practical torus networks have not been evaluated. We offer a simple interactive layout approach applicable to lay out general graphs on a 2D torus. Torus wrapping has a potential to reduce line crossings. However, it also comes with its own set of costs, as it adds additional costs of identifying friendship from discontinued links. Does the actual feasibility of a torus graph prove understanding? Does the cost outweigh its advantages? This brings us to the central question of our research. First, is there an algorithm that can produce more complicated graphs, such as the ones at the right? Is it understandable? Is torus layout better than a non-torus layout? In the following talk, I describe each of the following steps to investigate human readability of torus networks and summarize key ideas relative to our research questions. I'll first introduce a layout algorithm for projecting an arbitrary network onto a 2D torus. Then I'll go over its graph aesthetics matrix relative to torus readability. We study whether people can understand the layout that wraps in such a way. To aid comprehension of such wrapping, we study different rendering and interaction techniques. We then conducted 2 control studies to evaluate Torus network readability. We used a commonly adopted variant of force-directed algorithm, defined as minimization of stress across all pairs of nodes, which minimizes overall differences between graphic theoretical distance capital DUV and the actual Euclidean distance DUV. For this pair of AB, we will choose the wrapping that results in the smallest difference between the ideal distance and the actual distance between A and B. This example shows how we can obtain a torus layout for a simple graph K5 using our layout algorithm. To evaluate torus and non-torus graph aesthetics metrics, we generated a total of 72 torus and non-torus layouts grouped into small, medium, and large classes. The graph dataset were created using algorithms designed to simulate real-world social network and biological networks using algorithms from Network X. We therefore took measures of graph aesthetics such as line crossings, link length variance, incidence angle, and number of wrappings. The result indicates that torus wrapping has significantly improved line crossings, link length variance, and incidence angle compared with non-torus joins. I now describe the rendering techniques. As said previously, the torus wrapping at the left diagram might be difficult to understand. To aid comprehension of such wrapping, we provide replicated context such as partial and full context. In a partial context, the gray area shows the partial repetition of the network. For example, the red dashed link indicates friendship. B and E are friends. Similarly, C, E are friends. A and F are friends. For full context, we show repetition of the network in a 3x3 tile display. For example, C, F are friends if we can find a link between them. And then similarly, B and E are friends, and A and E are friends. Are our torus layout really better than non-torus? To answer this question, we recruited 24 participants. Each participant runs through 72 layouts of 4 techniques grouped into small, medium, and large classes. We used a within-subject design, so each participant went through the same set of trials. During the tutorial and training, we familiarized a user with network diagrams to identify the number of friends of a person, the shortest path between people, and the total number of people and relationships in the network. We have a total of 4 tasks. First, what is the shortest path in terms of the number of edges that need to be traversed between nodes labeled start and end? A user is given an unlimited time within the question text. Subsequently, a timer with 30 seconds is given along with the stimuli. We record the user's response time and accuracy. Second, please identify all the friends of the orange node in sorted order. Third, please identify the total number of people. 4. Please identify the total number of friendships. I now briefly describe the results. For a full set of results and study materials, please refer to our paper and the supplementary material web link. Overall, we found that full context is the best torus layout in terms of time, accuracy, and user preference, and as good as non-torus layout for edge and path following tasks. Majority of participants mentioned that full context provides a great overview of the entire network, and it helps understanding edge wrapping. Some participants mentioned full context took a lot of space due to redundancy. The actual information sometimes seems overwhelming, and many choose to favor no context. To that end, we conducted a second study to investigate Torus with interactivity for each Torus context. To aid understanding of Torus edge wrapping, we now offer the interactive Torus panning technique. In order to identify the shortest path between the blue and green node, the user can pan horizontally or vertically until they find a full link without wrapping. In this case, they can see AEC is the shortest path between blue and green node. How does interaction impact the results? Our Torus layout with interactivity really better than non-Torus. We recruited a new set of 24 participants. None of them has attended the previous study. We repeat the same experimental design as the first study, except adding interactive panning to Torus layouts. Since edge wrapping is not applicable to standard node-link representation, we do not repeat the same trials for non-Torus. The tasks were same as the first study. During tutorial and training, we familiarize the user with network diagrams and the interactive panning to identify a number of friends of a person, the shortest path between two people, and the total number of people and relationships in the network. This example shows what's the shortest path between start and end. We performed a between-subject analysis between the static Torus diagrams from Study 1 and the same diagram with interactivity in Study 2. Our results indicate that all Torus contexts with interactive panning significantly improve their performance in terms of time and accuracy compared with static version of Torus layout for path following tasks. First, for no context, and for partial context, and then for full context. To compare the performance of Torus and non-Torus, we performed a between-subject analysis. Our results indicate that Torus panning significantly improved no context to a point that it is comparable to non-Torus and full context drawings. At the same time, we found that partial context is clearly the worst Torus layout, even panning is introduced. We also found that no context and partial context both have more significant panning distance than full context layout. Our studies indicate that Torus layout could be a practical technique, not worse than a standard graph visualization technique for the tasks tested. We present an algorithm that produces Torus drawings for arbitrary networks. Torus diagram reduced visual clutter with less link variance, line crossings, and link incidence angle than non-Torus. Adding interactive panning to no or full context provides the best Torus layout and as good as the baseline. We recognize that testing other types of tasks, such as cluster identification for real-world larger applications, is an important next step. It is interesting that different levels of context, such as no, partial, full context, has significant difference on the Torus readability. As majority of participants mentioned they like the overview provided by full context, it may be interesting to study case distribution in different levels of context in future. For a full set of study materials and interactive Torus panning, you can visit our observable notebook link in this slide. Thank you. We are happy to take any question via email.